All right, let's dive into this. And I'm going to apologize in advance for my enthusiasm around this whole thing. I love this. This is one of those things in life that it's just a constant, a continuous improvement. We can always get better. You never kind of arrived. You know, I love that quote of John Wooden. It's what you learn after you know everything that counts. So let's look at what sets world-class performers apart. And the first piece is they seek out a coach or a mentor. All right, they look outside themselves to find an outside set of eyes that can give them some advice and some feedback and help them get better. Okay, I think it's one of the beautiful things that sets Gen Y apart is that they get multiple mentors. Let me tell you what we also found with policemen. They also get multiple mentors. So they find somebody who they like who does, you know, report writing well, and this person interviews folks well, and this person does it a little bit different investigative. So they get a multiple mentors. So one of the first thing that world-class performers do is they get a coach or a mentor. They seek out somebody that really they're able to not necessarily be better than them at a given task. In fact, let me explain that. They find folks that sometimes aren't even that good at a given task. But what they're good at is they're good at that discerning eye. They're good at finding a task, finding a tendency that helps their mentee get better. I'll give you an example. Is professional actors and actresses. And we know this from the folks that we've interviewed. They go to certain schools, and some of the teachers there have never made a living as a professional actor or an actress. Their skill really wasn't the delivery of that. Their skill was finding the nuance and the tendency to help aspiring actors and actresses get better. So I really wish that I had learned that earlier in my career. You see, I always thought that somebody had to be a superstar at a given task in order for me to be open to their advice, and that's not the case. What really needs to happen is we need to seek out a coach or a mentor, and their job is not to be better than us at a given task. That could be the case, but doesn't have to be the case. Their job is really to help us get better. So we don't have to find some superstar coach or a mentor. What we do have to find, though, is somebody that can provide us an outside set of eyes, can be kind of unemotional, and help us understand our tendencies and what we may need to do to get better. All world-class performers use performance feedback. Actors and actresses, they film themselves and then they look, you know, at what they're doing. Musicians, they record themselves. Athletes, they have game film. They study performance feedback in order to understand what are their tendencies, those small, almost imperceptible little things that are keeping them from being the best. So what kind of game film do you have? We're going to be giving you some here, and we're going to ask you to go back through your career. Do you have any performance appraisals? Have you taken a 360-degree evaluation? What kind of feedback have you received along the way? That's your performance game film as well. So take some time, find what you have received over the years, and we're going to give you some additional game film here, because what we're looking for is for you to uncover your small, almost imperceptible tendencies. Number 3. And I'm going to have to explain this a little bit, is that world-class performers realize that they have these unconscious tendencies, these things that they just do because they've always done it. And they realize that they need to turn that into conscious choice. Let me give you a couple of scenarios here, okay? One is that some unconscious things are purely physiological. When we're under stress, our palms sweat, our breathing becomes shallow. Those are just things that happen. But here's the deal. The difference between man and animals is our ability to reason. So while there is this natural, completely physiological response to certain situations, we can center ourselves and we can turn this to conscious. Okay, we can make conscious choices about things. There's been study after study that's done and that says that really 90% of what people do every day is rote. Okay, when you get up in the morning, you're not, I'm not thinking about how I'm shaving. I'm just shaving in the morning, or brushing our teeth, or maybe the best example I might have is driving the car. Have you ever, maybe had something going on at work or something, and you're driving home, and you get like one exit away from your exit, and you kind of snap out of it and you think, wow, I'm almost home. You've been driving a several thousand-pound bomb down the highway, and now you just realize you're home, completely unconscious. Well, world-class performers, and I think this is important to write down, world-class performers understand that it's critical to stay in the moment. It is critical that what they need to do is to be present and not go on autopilot at any time. That's not to say they don't have very highly tuned skills that allow them to do certain things, but what they understand is they need to be able to stay in the moment. All right? So, what we're going to be asking you here is, what are your blind spots? What are some areas where you just have these unconscious, unknown tendencies that you may do some things? Let me tell you something that I'm working on, okay? If you've not met Michelle yet, you will, and at least she's available for us to communicate with at any point. But Michelle Cirque was the first employee that we've had. And a couple of years ago, she had a very important discussion that she wanted to have with me. Now, I'm not world class yet, but I'm certainly trying. And she had this very important conversation she wanted to have with me. So she came into my office, and I was smart enough to be able to step around my desk, and I sat down and I started to, have this conversation with her. And she's talking to me, and I'm leaning up and I'm looking, and all the while she's doing it, I'm clicking my pen. She reached over and she took the pen out of my hand and she set it down and looked at me and said, "You don't even know you're doing it, do you?" I said, "Doing what?" And she said, "Clicking the pen." See, I thought I was communicating very well. I was on autopilot. I moved around. I wasn't in the moment. I moved around. But the reality is I was clicking that pen. I was doing everything except saying, "Come on, hurry up." I didn't mean that, but that's the message that I was sending. So, I tease her that she's cost me a couple of $100 because I went out and bought a pen that twists so I don't get into that clicking pen. It was an unconscious tendency that I had that, frankly, in my career, I'm not sure how often I might have done that in an important business meeting without even knowing it. Your job, we're going to provide you with some additional game film here. We're going to ask you to go back and look at your performance feedback, but your job is to uncover what are your blind spots, what are your tendencies, what are some things that you're doing to derail your chance of success that you're not even aware of. All right, let's look at number 4, okay? What sets world-class performers apart? Number 4, and I'm going to need to explain this. They realize that what might be necessary at the moment may be completely counterintuitive. In other words, it might not feel at all natural. It may simply be the way they look at this kind of intuitively or kind of naturally, or that kind of I am what I am type mentality. What may need to happen may be completely opposite of that. We've had the good fortune of working with business people quite literally around the world, and we've told those folks that if you believe that whomever has granted you, or however you got all the skills and abilities to do your job, if you believe that you've been granted that naturally in every single situation, you just naturally know exactly what to do, that on break, and I tell folks this, on break, we'll pull out a dictionary, we'll look up the word arrogant, and your picture will be right there. Nobody gets all of that naturally. So world-class performers understand that what might be necessary for improvement may be completely counterintuitive. Okay? I am accused of using sports analogies. I say I never do, but I know I do. So let's use this one, okay? You're a professional golfer. If you've seen this, if not, turn on the golf tournament this weekend. You're a professional golfer. You're standing over this 30-foot putt. Maybe it's your first time ever winning on tour. You're standing over this putt in the background, the announcer saying, and if Buddy drops this putt, he'll win his first tour. He'll be, exempt next year. I mean, the pressure is enormous, okay? And here's this pro golfer, and he stands and he hits the putt, and it snakes up and down and around and drops in the putt. He falls to his knees. He starts crying. My point of the matter is, where is that stress a minute ago? Maintaining that calm is completely counterintuitive. But world-class performers learn to stay in the moment. I'll give you a thing you can do right there at your tables. Okay, you can do right there. If your fingernails are not painted, all right, take 3 fingers and lightly, very lightly, set them on your desk. Your fingertips are pink. Now push down hard. Your fingertips are white. Let me explain what that is, okay? A little bit of homework for you. The next time you watch a football game, you watch offensive linemen will have gloves on and their fingers taped and all that. And the reason is, I used to think it's because they got their hands mangled until we interviewed a lot of world-class football players. And the reality is that defensive linemen learn to read offensive linemen's fingertips. If there's light pressure, now think about this. It is 3rd down, 1 yard to go. Time's running out. You're down by 6 points. If you don't get this first down, you're not going to score a touchdown. You're not going to win the game. The pressure's on. And offensive line or defensive linemen learn to look at the fingertips. If the fingertips are pink or not a lot of pressure on, then they surmise that it's a run play. Or I'm sorry, it's a pass play because they're backing up. They have the weight on the back and not on the front. If they look down and their fingertips are white, and they see pressure on their fingertips, then they realize it's a run play because they're going to be pushing ahead. Now, it is completely counterintuitive when your team is down and you need this first down and you know what the play is. Remember, you can't not know what you know. You know what the play is. You know that it's a run play. You know that the running back's running up your side. It's completely counterintuitive to not try to cheat forward a little bit. So if we're to be world-class performers, we need to step up and understand that we don't know everything every time, and we have to develop these unnatural, counterintuitive skill sets and be present and be in the moment at all times. The 5th thing, and this is one that I personally am working on very hard, frankly, and that is that world-class performers, they learn something that I think is, when we first started talking to folks, we had to really kind of put a title to this, because what they learn is they learn that they have to manage their energy. We all know that we have 24 hours in a day. We wake up every day, and we wouldn't have gotten to the level of our careers that we've gotten to if we didn't understand how to prioritize or how to get things done, and we know there's only so much time in a day. World-class performers, they know that, but they also know that there is only so much gas in their gas tank every day. I mean, they know that what needs to happen is that then when they wake up, they have to manage this energy judiciously, just like their time, okay? They need to understand that they don't want to waste their energy in unproductive activities. That's going to be very important for each of you as you're developing your consulting practice, is not wasting your energy with people or on tasks that do not help you move your business along. Let me prove energy management to you for a second, okay? Let me prove it to you for a second. Have you ever had a business situation, and maybe it's a very challenging situation. Maybe it's almost critical, and metaphorically, the house is on fire, and you call people into a conference room, and you get a flip chart, and you start kicking around ideas to overcome this and to succeed, and you're really solution oriented, and you're really working to get this done, and an hour, 2 hours later, this is a critical situation. An hour, 2, 3, 4 hours later, you leave this meeting room, and you're actually kind of jazzed. I mean, you feel that you've made headway. You feel that, now, while this might still be critical, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I know that we're getting after this. Does that ever happen? How about this? Have you ever had someone come into your office and ask you for 5 minutes and you're sitting in your chair and they get up and they leave after 5 minutes and you need a nap? That's energy management. That's energy management. Why? Why 4 hours in a very critical situation can you leave a little jazzed and 5 minutes somebody leaves and you feel down? We have to be very careful not to spend our energy on unproductive activities. Meeting with folks that want to take our time without providing us any benefit. Wasting our time on unproductive behaviors, or wasting our time on doing tasks that do not get us to the end game. Let me tell you a couple other things I think are important. World-class performers, they understand this too. They understand they don't waste any energy on being defensive. Think about that for a second. They don't waste any energy on being defensive. Here you are, you're a struggling actor, actress, or you're a musician, or frankly, you're one of the top golfers in the world who has this coach. Your coach couldn't beat you if you played him 10 rounds of golf. He would beat you, the player would beat the coach 10 out of 10 times. But you're paying this person to tell you what you're really not doing well. Okay? Meanwhile, this person was never as good as you and will never ever beat you, but that's not their job. Their job is to give you that input. Remember the coach or the mentor? To give you that input. World-class performers realize it's a complete waste of energy to be defensive about it. So as we move forward with this network, as we get input from clients, as we're interacting with one another, don't waste an ounce of energy on being defensive. That's all that it is. We have all been in debates with folks that we waste all of this energy and we don't sway their opinion an ounce. So world-class performers realize, don't waste any energy. Don't waste any energy. The next thing that world-class performers learn from an energy management standpoint is not to judge the messenger. It's the message that counts. You see, I wish I had learned that when I was a young salesperson. Is that I had many managers who I may not have liked for one reason or another, and they would give me feedback, and I would kind of ignore it because I didn't like them. In other words, I was taking my energy and wasting it by judging the messenger instead of listening to the message. As we move through this network, as we work with one another, as you work with clients, as you're getting feedback from folks, there may be many messengers that you may not like or necessarily want to befriend, but the message is what we need to listen to. And that's what world-class performers learn. They learn to listen to the message and ignore the messenger. The sixth thing that we found, all right, is that world-class performers create an actionable plan. In other words, they attack their developmental areas. They seek out their blind spots. They find a coach or a mentor to tell them what that is. They don't waste time being defensive, and then they attack those areas that will make them better. We're going to challenge each of you to attack those areas that will make us better. All right, and here's a couple of things that we found. Frankly, whether you are a world-class policeman, so let me kind of pull this into perspective and link what we've talked about. My brother, policeman, I would believe my brother to be a world-class policeman, but policemen are Hall of Fame. They regularly are filmed in combat shooting situations. So they get game film. They have instructors who frankly may not be as good as policemen or as good a shot as them. They have a coach. They manage that energy. Their action plan is countable. So how well did we do? What's the score? I mean, marksmanship is ranked that way. All kinds of things fall for a policeman as for any other world-class performer that we've talked about. An actionable plan, and that means this, and we tell our clients this all the time, wishing is not a strategy. So I really wish I was better at this, or I would really like to be better at that. Doesn't make us any better. We have to create an actionable plan. So write these things down. Number one, it needs to be countable. When you write that action plan down for yourself, it needs to be countable. You need to be able to check the box. Did you do it or didn't you do it? Okay? The next thing is, don't make it overwhelming. Don't say, it's like if you want to train for a marathon, you're not going to run out and go out this weekend and run 26 miles. It's step by step. It's incremental. As you look at what we want to do to get better as consultants, let's look at incrementally what we need to do. It's step by step. We need to eat the elephant one bite at a time. One bite at a time. Let me give you a couple of other things that I would strongly urge you to do. The next one is write it down. There's power in writing it down. If we think it, we're going to talk about writing it down and role-playing and all that later as we implement some of the things to be successful as a world-class performer and as an independent consultant. Thinking it and rehearsing it in our mind is only slightly better than nothing. Writing it down is critical because then it becomes somehow real. The next thing I might suggest is share it with somebody. Somebody in our network, somebody that you know, your coach, your mentor, share it with somebody. And now here's the deal on becoming a world-class independent consultant, okay? As you develop your actionable plan, do not overwhelm yourself. Pick one or two bites of that elephant, one or two. Take one or two things that you want to get better at in this new role, in your new career. One or two things, okay? Write them down, develop an actionable plan to fix it, celebrate it, and then write down one or two more. All world-class performers, they work at creating an actionable, countable plan of action.